Hi everyone, Coach Vidic here. Today we're doing lesson 6.3 algebraic equations type 3. So as we get through our algebraic equations, you'll see that they get more and more complex, and hence the number, usually the 3 here in the type 3, corresponds to how many steps you're probably going to need to take to solve for your variable. Again, let's start with our overall goal, and that is to solve the equation for the unknown variable. And the way to do that is to get the variable all by itself on one side of the equal sign. Okay, so what are type 3 equations? Well, type 3 equations are a little different in that they contain more than one group of variables. Okay, so far we've only seen something like an x or a y, but only on one side of the equal sign. So this time we're going to get more than one term will be present in the equation. This requires you to collect all the variables together on one side of the equal sign and combine them like terms. The numbers will be collected in the opposite side of the equal sign. So if you collect the variables on one side, again, you got to collect the numbers on the other side. So let's go ahead and do a few examples. So the first example here is I have 4g minus 5 equals negative 3g plus 16. So here's what makes this a type 3 equation is that I have g's on both sides. So I have to get all the letters or all the variables on one side. And the side that makes the most sense here would be to move these g's over here to the left side, because then I would have a positive number, because once I add 3g over here and I add 3g over here, I will end up with having 7 g's. Okay, if I'd subtracted the 4, I would be left with negative g's, and I don't like that. Okay, so let's see what we have now. So that gets rid of these g's over here. But I still have this negative 5 here, and I have the 16 here. Well, right now I turn this type 3 equation into a type 2 equations, and I think we can all do this. But let me go ahead and finish here. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides first, and I'm going to run out of space here, so I'm going to go ahead and use all the space over here, and that's going to give me 7g equals 21. And then finally, I'm going to divide both sides by 7, and that's going to give me g equals 3. Okay? All right, let's do a few more. Okay, very similar question down here. I have h's on both sides, making this a type 3 equation. So I have to get all the h's on one side. Okay, well, I'm going to move these h's over here, and I'm going to move this 34 over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that first. So I'm going to add the 34 here and add the 34 here. That's going to get rid of the 34s. And then I'm going to subtract 1/2 h and subtract 1/2 h. And that's going to get rid of this h over here. So now what I have is 16 plus 34 on the left side, and 3/4 h minus 1/2 h on the right side. Okay, why did I move the variable to the right side? Well, the simple answer is because the 3/4 is bigger than the 1/2, and I'd rather work with positive coefficients when I'm solving my equations, so that when I subtract that 1/2 away from a 3/4, I'm going to get a positive number. Okay, the other way wouldn't be wrong, it would just be a little bit harder because you have to deal with a negative sign. Okay, so I'm going to first go ahead and change this into a 2 over 4 so that I can subtract these h's over here. So 3 minus 2 is going to give me 1 over 4 h. Okay, and then 16 plus 34 is 40. Whoops, 50. 50. And okay, so now I've basically turned this into a one-step equation. I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. Multiply both sides by 4. And I'm going to get, that's going to get rid of this 4 over here, because 4 over 4 is 1. And finally, 20 times, or 50 times 4 is 200 equals h. Okay? Okay, let's look at this one over here. All right? Okay, well, the first thing I'm going to do, again, the brackets are a little bit different. Okay, there's a couple ways to do this. I'm going to show you both ways to do this. The first way is to get rid of the bracket by distributing the 3 into the bracket. So I'm going to have 3f minus 9 equals 6f plus 9. And then again, I'm going to move the 3f over here and the 9 over here. So I'm going to end up with, that's going to be a minus 9, and that's going to be a minus 3f, minus 3f. Okay, that's going to get rid of the 3f and the 9. All right, now let me go ahead and do the math here. Negative 9 minus 9 is going to be negative 18. 6f minus 3f is going to be 3f. Divide both sides by 3. And I finally have f on its own, which was my goal. F equals negative 6. Okay, that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is, let me copy it down again. F minus 3 equals 6f plus 9. And this is not necessarily a better way. It might be a little bit quicker, but you want to be comfortable with both ways of doing this. Because this is a bracket over here, and this is multiplication in between the 3 and the bracket, I can go ahead and divide this whole left side by 3, and then I'm going to go ahead and divide the whole right side by 3. Well, what that does is gets rid of this 3, because 3 divided by 3 is 1, and then basically I don't need that bracket anymore. I have f minus 3 equals, and now on this side I have 6 divided by 3 and 9 divided by 3. So 6f divided by 3 is 2f, and 9 divided by 3 is plus 3. Okay, now I'm going to get this f over here and this 3 over here, and I have 2f minus f is going to give me an f, and negative 3 minus 3 is going to give me a negative 6. I skipped a little step there, but hopefully everybody can follow along here. I subtracted the 3 and subtracted the f on this side. Okay, and look at that. I get the same answer. Okay, let's do a few more examples. Again, we have a bracket in this case, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to consolidate my g's, get them all on the same side. And again, it makes more sense to move this g over here because I'm going to end up with 12 g's, because I'm adding 6g here and I'm adding 6g here. Okay, so now I have 12g minus 14 equals 2g plus 3. And from here, again, there's a couple ways to do it. I think the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And that's going to get rid of this, and I'm going to be left with g plus 3. And over here, I'm going to have 6g minus 7. Okay, and finally, well, not yet. I got to get the g over here and the 7 over here. And I'm going to be left with 5g's equals 10. Okay, hopefully everybody can see that. I added the 7 here, added the 7 here, and subtracted the g and subtracted the g over here. All right. Last step. Let me scroll down a bit. Divide both sides by 5, and I end up with g equals 2. All right, last one. Okay, be careful here because you have the negative. So when you distribute that negative, you're going to end up with negative 3g plus 4. Remember, both numbers inside the bracket get multiplied by the negative 1. 2g plus 14 on the right side. Okay, let me do this one. Again, what's going to make the most sense here? Well, I'm going to move the 3g over here. Okay, I'm going to do this one with all the steps here, so that disappears, and I'm left with 4 equals 5g plus 14. Again, you can do both in one step. When you're first starting this, when you're first doing these equations, you want to make sure you do all your steps so you don't make any mistakes here. But again, over time this will be a little it'll get a little bit easier. Okay, now I want to move the 14 over, so I'm going to subtract 14 from both sides, and I end up with negative 10 on this side and 5g on this side. Divide by 5, and g equals negative 2. Okay, hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you in class.